In section 6.3, we get into adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. We'll start with adding, subtracting. When we're adding and subtracting, we have to make any sign changes. And then combine like terms. Okay, so we'll talk about sign changes here. When there's a plus sign, there really are no sign changes to make, because when you're adding a -5, just plus -5, there's nothing really to worry about for sign changes. We'll talk about that when we start doing subtraction. But if we look at our like terms, or our common terms, we have 9x to the third plus -5x to the third. 9 plus -5 is 4x to the third. Okay, then we have a positive 12x squared plus positive 10. 12 plus 10 is 22x squared. Okay, and then look for any x's. You'll see here that we have a 3x, but there's no x in the first parentheses. So we have just a positive 3x. And then the last thing we do is look for our constants. -19 plus 5 is -14. Okay, we have one more adding right below here. So that was the first one. Second one, we're adding. Look at the biggest exponents first. So we have a 4x to the fifth. There are no other x to the fifth, so this would just be 4x to the fifth. Look for any x to the fourths in the problem. There are no x to the fourths. Then we have -12x to the third plus positive 2x to the third. -12 plus 2 is -10x to the third. Then we have positive 5x plus -5x. 5 plus -5 is 0, so those actually cancel each other out. Then we have -1 plus positive 25, which is positive 24. So we have 4x to the fifth. Whoops, and actually I missed something here. I messed this up. We still have a 24, but I totally missed the x to the 8x to the second. So we have a positive 8x to the second that I forgot about. So we end up with 4x to the fifth minus 10x to the third, and then plus 8x squared plus 24. Okay, so this is pretty much just combined like terms when we're adding. When we subtract, it gets a little trickier. So when you're subtracting, we have to remember we are subtracting everything in the parentheses here. So we have 5x to the fourth minus 6x squared plus 8. So the first parenthesis stays the same. Now we have minus 16x to the fourth. And it's minus -7x squared. So minus -7x squared. Okay, so when they're subtracting polynomials, you have to be careful that you distribute that negative. So if we look to combine like terms, 5x to the fourth minus 16x to the fourth is -11x to the fourth. And then we have a -6x squared minus -7 is really plus positive. So we're going to combine these. We have -6x squared plus 7x squared is plus 1x squared when we combine those. And then we have a plus 8. So -11x to the fourth plus 1x squared plus 8. Okay, we have one more subtracting one. So again, when we're subtracting, I think of it as distributing the negatives. We have a minus 2x to the third minus 5x squared minus -2x. And the first parentheses doesn't change. So 6x to the fifth minus 10x to the third minus 3x minus 9. And then we combine like terms. So we have a 6x to the fifth I don't see any x to the fourths, so let's look at x to the thirds. Negative 10x to the third minus 2x to the third is negative 12x to the third. Now look for any x squareds. I only see the negative 5, so it's minus 5x squared. Check for any x's. We have a negative 3 minus negative 2, which is really plus positive 2. So negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1x. And then we also have a minus 9. So minus 9 goes at the end. So really what we're doing is distribute the minus symbol and then combine like terms. All right, multiplying. There's a couple different multiplication problems we're going to see. The first one is just distributing. So multiplying is distribute or FOIL. Multiply numbers together and letters together. And then we simplify. So the first one here, we're just distributing 5x squared times 3x to the third. So 5 times 3 is 15. X squared times x to the third is x to the fifth. Because remember, when you multiply variables and exponents, you actually add the exponents. Okay, and just off to the side, I'll show you x squared times x to the third is equal to x to the fifth. That's where that came from. And then we have 5x squared times 7x squared. 5 times 7 is 35. X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. And then 5x squared times negative 6. 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. And then x squared goes with it. So we're just distributing. And then there's one more example like it below. 2x times 7x squared. 2 times 7 is 14. X times x squared is x to the third. 2x times negative 12x. 2 times negative 12 is negative 24. X times x is x squared. And then 2x times 5 is positive 10x. So that was just distributing. This one is foiling, and we've done foiling this year already. Foiling is first, outside, inside, last. I also think of it as double distribution. So 3x squared is being multiplied by everything in the second parentheses. So 3x squared times negative 2x squared is negative 6x to the fourth. 3x squared times 7 is positive 21x squared. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. This would be negative 10x squared. And 5 times 7 is 35. So we FOIL, or we distribute everything in the first parentheses to everything in the second parentheses. And then we combine like terms. So we have a negative 6x to the fourth. 21x squared minus 10x squared is 11x squared. And then we have a plus 35. Okay, there's one more FOIL example. 3x squared times 8x squared. 3 times 8 is 24. X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. 3x squared times negative 6 is negative 18x squared. 5 times 8x squared is positive 40x squared. And 5 times negative 6 is negative 30. And then we combine like terms. So there's a 24x squared. Negative 18 plus 40 is positive 22x squared minus 30. And as I look back, I definitely screwed up. This should be 24x to the fourth, not 24x squared. So let me fix that. This should be x to the fourth. Let me fix that. So 24x to the fourth plus 22x squared minus 30. Okay, example 5. So now we have a trinomial. So we have 3 terms in the first parenthesis times a binomial. So we distribute the x squared times everything in the second parenthesis. So x squared times x is x to the third. X squared times negative 8 is negative 8x squared. Then we have to distribute the 4x. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times negative 8 is negative 32x. And then distribute the 5. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 8 is negative 40. And now we combine like terms. We have x to the third. Negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4x squared. And then we have to combine the x's. Negative 32x plus 5x is negative 27x. And then we have a minus 40 at the end. So x to the third minus 4x squared minus 27x minus 40. Okay, and then one more like this. I'll show you one more. So negative 7x squared times 2x is negative 14x to the third. Negative 7x squared times 3 is negative 21x squared. 8x times 2x is 16x squared. And 8x times 3 is 24x. And then lastly, negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. And negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. And then we combine like terms. So negative 14x to the third. Negative 21x squared plus 16x squared is negative 5x squared. 24x minus 2x is 22x. And then we have a minus 3. So that's what we get when we multiply a trinomial times a binomial. The next type of multiplication has 3 sets of parentheses. So we have x minus 4 times x plus 5 times x minus 6. So in this one, you pick 2 of the parentheses and multiply them. So I'm going to start with the first 2. So x times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. So I'm going to multiply the first 2 parentheses, and I'm going to keep the last parenthesis the same. So there's still an x minus 6. Then I'm going to combine like terms. So the first parenthesis is x squared. 5x minus 4x is 1x, and then a minus 20. And the second parenthesis is still x minus 6. Now we distribute again. So now it's x squared times x is x to the third. And x squared times 6 is negative 6x squared. Then we have x times x is positive x squared. And x times negative 6 is negative 6x. Negative 20 times x is negative 20x, and negative 20 times negative 6 is positive 120. So we distribute those 2 parentheses now, and then we combine like terms. So we have x to the third. Negative 6x squared plus x squared is negative 5x squared. Negative 6x minus 20x is negative 26x. Then we have a positive 120. So we end up with x to the third minus 5x squared minus 26x plus 120. And that is our final answer. And we're going to show one more like this. So again, we would FOIL the first 2. So x times x is x squared. x times 3 is positive 3x. And then we have a negative 5x, and then we have negative 15. So we FOIL the first two sets of parentheses. The second set of parentheses stays the same. Then we can combine like terms. So we get x squared minus 2x minus 15. And we still have x plus 7. Now we distribute everything in the first parenthesis to the second. So x squared times x is x to the third. X squared times 7 is 7x squared. Then we have negative 2x times x is negative 2x squared. And negative 2x times 7 is negative 14x. And lastly, negative 15 times x is negative 15x. And negative 15 times 7 is negative 105. Okay, and the last thing we do is combine like terms. X to the third, and then we combine the x squareds. 7 minus 2 is positive 5, so 5x squared. Then we combine the x's. We get negative 29x, and then the constant comes at the end, so minus 105. So x to the third plus 5x squared minus 29x minus 105. Okay, and then the last one I want to show you is when we have something squared, like 10x minus 3 squared, we actually have to write that out as 10x minus 3 times 10x minus 3. And then we FOIL. 10x times 10x is 100x squared. 10x times negative 3, oops, I don't know why I put parentheses there. Let me fix this. And then 10x times negative 3 is negative 30x. And then negative 3 times 10x is another negative 30x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. And then we combine like terms, so 100x squared. Negative 30 minus negative 30 is negative 60x plus 9. Okay, and I will show you one more like this. 6x squared plus 4 squared means you write this down twice. 6x squared plus 4 times 6x squared plus 4. And then we distribute. 6x squared times 6x squared is 36x to the fourth. 6x squared times 4 is 24x squared. 4 times 6x is 24x squared. And 4 times 4 is 16. And then we combine like terms. 36x to the fourth. 24 plus 24 is 48, so 48x squared, and then plus 16. All right, and that's all the multiplication ones you'll see. That's what we got for this section.